This is Surviving Survivor.
It's only episode 2 of season 50, but I just feel like it keeps getting better and better and better, even though there are some shitty moments. Thanks for listening to Surviving Survivor. I'm Emily McGlynn. We got Abby Tarpey. We got Jack Freiser. We got a bunch of points that we want to address today. I don't think this season can get any better, but it just somehow has.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving these characters all coming together. I think it's just... I was skeptical about the cast at first, but I'm liking how they're all playing. And again, this is the second episode in a row. People are playing. They're taking their final... Some of them it's a second chance, some of them it's a fourth chance, some fifth. It's most of their last chances, though. So, if not all of their last chances. So, this is just the way that they can really do it. And they're going full force, which I love. Love to see.
And it's interesting how, the old school and the new school are really coming out and really showing, the different sides of how the game has evolved. And the old school way, the old era of way, I feel like is completely dominating over the new era. For crying out loud, when Devins, again, we'll get into all of this, but when Devins turned to Joe and was like, I've never met a player like you before. Why are you playing like this? I don't understand. But we'll get into that. I think right off rip, I just think we need to talk about Christian because I think he was the star of the show. But also people online, no pun intended, are kind of shitting on him. Why? I don't understand. I don't get it. Do you guys understand?
I understand, not in a I agree way, but I think it's coming from a place of there's so many people this season. Why are we getting so much content just from one person? And
he's baby girl.
I love Christian. I think he's such an entertaining character. I think he has that perfect mix of comedy, but also with the strategy. I will always think, I don't want to give up Abby's meme of the week in talk, but I do think one of my favorite moments of the week is Christian just reading Billie Eilish, Boomerang, and then kind of looking. Just looking out into the distance, being like, oh.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you, Billy.
So I think he's just so iconic, even when he gives because he finds the Boomerang Idol, and he decides to give it to Aubrey. And I like that he gives it to Aubrey. I really loved how it was edited. And it's this the victory music of Aubrey crying, being like, wow, somebody wants me to have this. And then he goes, maybe Aubrey Bracco. I just loved it. I loved it. I thought it was so good.
Now, I'm glad that you brought that up because there's something else I wanted to ask you guys. The Boomerang Idol, when we first talked about it, the only way that we kind of talked about it was how dumb do you think somebody is? But we never really explored the option of, no, I just really like this person. I really want to work with this person and I want to show that I want that relationship. So I'm going to give them an idol. How did you guys feel about Christian making that decision opposite to how Genevieve took it?
I feel like both ways are smart, and obviously I have a positive opinion since he gave it to one of my players in our draft. But with something like this, what I like about the Boomerang Idol, taking away the Billie Eilish-ness of it, is that you can play it a couple different ways. It's not one of the advantages that you're forced into doing a very specific thing or to a very specific number of people. I would assume based on its current structure that it's only going to be available now. Once we merge, it'll turn into something different. Who's to say what's to come with Survivor 50? But having it be an interesting way to kind of cross-pollinate tribes and have players think about each other and interact in a way we don't usually see. I think Christian's method is smart, but that doesn't deteriorate from any other methods of you wanting someone to get out, so you give it to them, or however else you might be able to play it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very dynamic, which I understand because they voted for dynamic powers and advantages. So it is a very dynamic idol, which I think is interesting. And it makes sense because, like you said, there are two different styles of gameplay happening of the old era and new era. And I think it's funny because a lot of the old era players are playing in a new era style where somebody like a Joe is playing very old school of like loyalty, like keep my people safe and just go for it. Um and Aubrey is somebody that I can totally see working with Christian and has that level of she's been loyal to her people every time she's played. And this is her fourth time playing, so there's 3 seasons of evidence that she can one make it far and two she will be loyal to the people that she's surrounded. So it is a very smart play to pick somebody that you know you could work with in the future and also somebody that you know will have your back, especially after you're like, hey, I did this for you. Maybe you can help me. I think Aubrey's somebody that would absolutely receive that and help out. I will say, I think that he was also thinking in a way that she has gone out before with an idol in her pocket. So you're picking somebody that is loyal and that you can work with, but somebody that's also had evidence of going out with an idol. So there's a chance that that may happen again if she is an early out. So I do think that he did. It's clear that the edit is showing it that it was a more strategic side of this of it, but I'm sure he also thought the other way a little bit too.
But even with that, I think that looking at his previous season, he was aligned with Nick and Gabby. And I would argue that he, for obvious reasons, might not want to align with someone like Nick, since Nick ends up making it a little bit farther than him. Whereas I would think that Aubrey kind of checks the boxes of the type of person that plays the way that Gabby played. And while I agree that different people are playing different ways and trying their things out, I think we're all inherently creatures of habit. And I think certain players are having those habits come out in interesting ways where, like, this is a very minute thing that you can argue right through and kind of see that he's going to be like similar people attract to each other. They're gonna get along if they make it farther together and he reveals that it was his idol. But going back to your point about like old school players versus new school players, I think that that creature of habit concept is still coming out though, because while people boil it down to old school being simple and survivalist and new school being dynamic and crazy, I think that we have ebbs and flows that are a little more particular than that. So, like, there's a new school style that's even less about survivalism and even more about loyalty than I feel like pre-season 30 was. Because pre-season 30 there was craziness and insanity. It was just in a different flavor. So while someone like Joe is doing what he's always done and he will probably continue to do it, I liked seeing and I'm intrigued what you guys are thinking about how some of the old school players are trying to be different, but they're having some of their old ways sneak through with things like their opinions on Rizzo and their opinions on how people are acting around camp and kind of how they might not be fitting the type of player they're trying to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it's been interesting because even somebody like a Q, we've seen have a little bit play a little bit less chaotic right now, and and yet he's like, why are these
For
people
now.
not what? Yeah, exactly. For
For
now,
now.
emphasis on for now. We know Q, and we know that he gets bored easily. A quote from him, as he has said. Um, but I do think it's interesting because there's for sure some people who are falling back into their old habits. Like we saw Chrissy taking this mom figure yet again of trying to help out with the tribe, but it comes off maybe a little bossy and and not as wholesome as she's thinking it is. And I think that that's something that happened the first time around too, where she took around this mom figure. We have somebody like Stephanie who we've seen is focusing a lot on camp life, and while she does have this alliance, We haven't really seen much of her game this week, but it seems that she's also keeping a little bit of that, going back to her roots of sticking with her people and focusing on the shelter life and challenges. And I do think that's interesting. And even somebody like Colby, who I'm so impressed by, he really has changed his game. And I went into the season very low on him, and I'm leaving already a way bigger fan of how he's playing. I'm liking how he's being dynamic and willing to work with new people and thinking, okay, Kyle left, that sucks. What could I do now? Especially since I don't have a vote and Q doesn't have a vote. And I've just been really impressed by the dynamics of people and also seeing people like Sari. She's still doing her things. We saw her masterfully do what she does best, which is be everyone's friend and make you think you're making a decision, but in reality, she is telling you exactly what to do in a way where it doesn't seem like she's doing any of that. Where you cannot go back and say, Sari told me to do this, because in reality, she didn't.
I love that one confessional, how she walked us through how she talks to people and how she gets them to be on her side. And it's not manipulative. It's not. I just would say it's a certain way of phrasing something to make it seem like that person is making a choice. It's almost like, I would go as far to say, is like, it's almost kind of like talking to a child. Do you want 1 hour or do you want 60 minutes? And then they get to make their choice. So it's kind of in that realm. Before we move forward, we've been kind of dancing around this idea, but Aubrey was kind of a center or a big point of episode 2, and the name of the episode I feel like was kind of named after her, wasn't it? It was tribal therapy, or what was it?
Therapy carousel. What
Yes, that's
yeah, it
it.
was what Christian was doing with everybody.
Yes. But she opened up about how, she hasn't played Survivor in a really long time, but there are aspects of the game that still kind of have followed her, and now playing it, it kind of, all of those reminders are kind of coming back to her of like not having the alone time and all that stuff, and just feeling super overwhelmed by the game. And lo and behold, we get another example of how smart Genevieve is, but also crazy this woman is, because I know she's intimidated by Aubrey in some kind of way, or maybe they just don't mesh. I don't know what it is, but they don't mesh. And Genevieve is like, all right, I think she has an advantage. I'm going to go through her bag, which I feel like was so taboo in the 40s. Like before that, I think we saw it a little bit more, but it was like we only saw it a couple of times in the 40s. And I thought it was so funny how Genevieve, every time she took a layer out of Aubrey's bag, she was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like she knows it's bad, but she's like, I gotta find out if she has this idol or not. And
If only she had waited a few hours, she would have found it.
I know. So this is also what I wanted to talk about too, and I was talking about with my Survivor obsessed coworkers. Did the editors edit it as like, they looked through her bag, then she got the idol, or was it she had the idol the whole time on her person, but because they thought it was in Aubrey's bag, they didn't find it? So after when they showed that moment of her getting the idol and being so grateful and having tears of joy, I was like, oh, wow, I just got. Like I thought that was such a clever way. But like I don't know. Was it chronological or was it a got? I don't know what it was.
I do think it was a semi chronological telling of the episode, so I could totally see a world in which she did just get it after. And then in that case, she's just really lucky.
Okay.
It was kind of giving like when you recruit a traitor, in my opinion, and then they're found out to be a traitor. Because the reason Genevieve wanted to look at it is because she's been like protective of her bag anyways. So regardless of if it is super lucky timing for Aubrey slash horrible timing for Genevieve, she would have just gotten the idol regardless. So like Genevieve's reason is off, but in a jam way. she might have felt like she was right if they were to find the idol. So I'm happy for Aubrey that it wasn't her getting got. And to your point, I really feel like Aubrey is voicing something that's important for us to like note on the show too, because the idea we've played little board game versions of it or even like one night, one day long games, and they get so intense and so stressful. And for speaking for all of us, it's us surrounded by the people we love or the people they love.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of being stranded, starving, and dirty with strangers on national television for 2 to 3 weeks, and all of them are lying to you and backstabbing you for a life-changing amount of money, would take a lot out of you, as you could assume. So I like that they included that because while we don't see a lot of the survivalist element anymore, I think the stress and like the emotional toll that it's taking is something we haven't gotten to see at all, other than little notes of like when we saw Ben a couple seasons ago, they brought it up a lot. And I like that they're bringing it up in like a genuine, like neutral note and not making fun of the players in a way that I think they might have in the early seasons.
100%. I mean, I think that is one of the best aspects of this season is people are coming with kind of that background. She's had it rough times. She has gone through it. She's been blindsided. She's had breakdowns there, but that hasn't deterred her. And I like that we were seeing how it was a very human bit of just like I'm just going to be a little more calm. I'm not going to let it all get over me the entire time. And I thought that was admirable. I liked that moment. I really did. And I think that it's interesting that her and Genevieve don't click because I really think it's not that, and it's more that Genevieve just is afraid of another Rachel. And I think because I think they're similar in many ways. They're not the same, obviously, but I do think that there's an aspect where it's two people that play similar esque games, and they don't want to be with each other. But I am interested to hear your guys' thoughts on somebody that we have seen, two people we've seen play a lot of times. And as we've mentioned earlier on, Suri was really persuasive this episode. And something she did that she didn't even realize she was doing is she persuaded Ozzy to give her his extra vote. And we have her finally getting an advantage in the game. What were your guys' thoughts? Do you think that that was the right move for Ozzy? Do you think it will help out in their relationship? What do you guys think?
I think she's building her army right now behind her because again she's known for being a dominant in her social game and people wanting to crowd around her, and I feel like having Ozzy in her foxhole is just gonna push her farther and farther into the game. And I hate to say it, but like he said he's gonna be a little bit more strategic this time around. He's gonna be thinking about that a little bit more. I just haven't seen it yet. Especially, during these tribal conversations, or before tribal council, like we didn't hear from him, even though he was on the chopping block. Like, I want to know if he knew that. So I thought it was a good idea. I mean, he's got an idol, so who cares? It's nice that you've got a little something extra, but I'm glad that he's sharing the wealth.
Yeah, I think it's unlike him in a weird way but also very much similar to him. I feel like he's somebody that is loyal to the soil in a lot of ways. But we got a great challenge that we saw, and we did see yet again Sela is going to Tribal Council, and yet again Jonathan beasting it. I was so obsessed. It's not been posted anywhere because I want to use it as a reaction. But Jonathan's reaction to winning that challenge, he's just like yeah, and then he like it realizes it and just feels so confident, and then turns around and gives everyone a hug. I just thought it was awesome. I replayed it like 3 times. I thought it was so funny. And something that we do see with Sela while they're plotting to see who's next is a possible alliance being formed. and we hear from Savannah and Devins that they may want to get a group going with Joe and Christian. And that all seems normal. And Christian is all on board. And so now you probably just need to let Joe know. That would make the most sense, in my opinion. But Devins decides to pull Joe for a chat. And right beforehand, Savannah whispers something in his ear. And Joe gets a little bit like, what is that? And outright tells him, hey, what did she say? Devins just decides to lie. And of course, it comes back, and Joe finds out that Savannah wanted to be in an alliance with him, and that was what Devin was supposed to say. And we get an incredible argument between Joe and Devins, which is so petty because it's just two people being so different and both being questionable, but I weirdly have to side with Joe. I don't know what you guys think, but yes, it's a game of lying, and it's really annoying to play with somebody who's very loyal, 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 don't lie, this is our people, we got this. But it's also insanity to me that you're lying to somebody about wanting to be in an alliance with them. Like, that is the one thing that I feel like you don't need to lie about. Or if you're lying about it, you're lying about it in the other way of, yeah, let's form an alliance, even though I'm going to get you. What were your guys' thoughts on this whole interaction and argument?
I was just confused by the whole thing. I'm like, how did we get here? It just seems so high school and juvenile to me. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I understand both sides, but I'm going to have to agree with you, Jack. I'm kind of on Joe's side about this because Savannah, again, I know I keep bringing up the high school thing, but it's like you whispered something, she walked away, and it's like, okay, yeah, so what was that about? You know? I think Devins, in a way, has dug himself a hole. Will Joe capitalize on that? I have no freaking clue. I have no idea. I mean, Savannah's gone. So, like, I don't know. But Savannah said in her exit interview, I saw this clip today, that the argument was way worse than what we were given. Like, why was it so intense? Where did that come from? I really don't understand, because even though Devins is just kind of like a quirky, funny guy, like he doesn't seem like that crazy of a player to go so hard into somebody. Or maybe I just haven't been watching the show for that long and I'm talking on my ass. But
No, yeah, I definitely think it was more crazy on Joe's side. I think Devins just the problem with Devins is that if he's on Survivor, so he needs to be playing Survivor. Like we see him making a fake idol and having Christian fall at Tribal so that he can hide it. And we see him always overplaying, always strategizing, always trying to tell lies. And that just does not work with somebody like Joe. And so he's trying to have a very political conversation with Joe, and Joe just wants a straightforward one. So he's even like, I didn't think I would want to work with somebody who's like you, but I really like you, so I'm trying. And Joe's like, oh, so you don't want to work with me then? You just said you don't want to do that. And Devins is always trying to. He's a broadcast journalist. He's a news reporter. His job is to know how to eloquently speak, and so he thinks about it all in a very political way. And Joe is just like a straight to the point person. He wants the direct conversation. That's why he's like, why were you not giving me the direct conversation earlier? Why are we not having one now? And that something that I guess that it showed that it scared everybody. And if Joe wasn't such a physical asset to the team, I'm sure he probably would have gone, because he has shown that he's hard to mold. You can't really mold. Like Emily said this, you can't mold Joe. Joe is Joe, and so you're going to have to take him or leave him. And we saw that with season 48. And he's who he is. You can't really convince him of anything. And he was just beaten last time by two people who did outwit him. And
Hmm.
he doesn't want that right now. So I think that was the other reason he was so angry at Devins was, listen, dude, I was burnt recently. I don't want to get burnt again. And this is something that you didn't need to lie to me about.
I I was thinking about it and I was like, wow, Joe is what Coach thinks he is.
That
Which is
whole Coach and Ozzy like argument on the mat was so stupid.
like South
I'm eating
Pacific
it up
literally.
though.
Oh, I'm eating it up too. Absolutely.
Like, oh my gosh, how old is this beef? Like, come on. Like, ugh, it was so good. I'm like, didn't oh D was like, yeah, I haven't seen a fight like that in a long time or something like that. Like that was so good.
The old school are bringing back some old school vibes. So we do see Sela decide between Ozzy, Joe, and Savannah. Savannah, they say, is the easy choice. She's won. Everyone thinks she has an advantage which she does, when she went on that journey with Colby. And Devins even asks her up front, "Do you have something?" And she lies to him. So it seems like that's the easy vote. You can go with Joe, which would bring a little bit more tribe unity, and then Ozzy if we want to really disrupt the Suri moment and figure things out. And there was definitely a lot of pros and cons, but Suri did what Suri does best and gave everyone reasons why Ozzy should stay without making it seem like she's saying everyone needs to not vote Ozzy right now. And we did see a unanimous 6-1 vote on our Survivor 49 winner, Savannah.
I was sad for her, but I was also kind of like, you just won $1 million and you're on season 50, one of the most anticipated seasons of this, of the show since it started. Like, I think you're okay. I think you have enough publicity. I think you're going to be fine. But I totally understand being on an ultimate high, being the best of the best, and then now going to an absolute low. But I thought them voting out Savannah was the right move because stuff was going on behind the scenes that maybe she did or didn't know about, but she clocked it either way, told other people about it, and I think that's what made her dangerous. Of like, she's telling you straight up front that she can read people like it's nobody's business. So if you lie to her, she's going to see right through you. And, so you better tell her the truth. And I think that's ultimately what sent her home. And that one conversation is, I think, what made them flip. And I think it's interesting that they didn't show us that. It's kind of like they had that conversation and they went to tribal, and it's kind of like you knew, but there was also a possibility, I don't know, maybe they'll go for Joe.
With the excitement of next week, before we get into that, we have the most important part of this week, which is, of course, meme of the week.
Meme of the week.
Liana.
Okay.
I thought that this episode was chock full of some great memes. But Emily, you want to go first?
Yes, but I don't want to steal.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Okay. It's the same picture, but the two different um, captions for them were too good. So I'm going to share both. But besides the editors blurring out Christian's butt because of him pooping his pants, this was by far the best picture.
Yes.
This was so good.
So
So
good.
I'm gonna read you. So have that picture in mind.
So
This is
good.
this is the first, the cinematography, the scene, the drama. This is beautiful, and then this made me laugh out loud. This is from at In Media Life. They said, "How my clementines be looking at me." I like
That's my favorite meme we've ever had on the show.
like that is so
That is my
freaking
favorite meme
funny.
we've ever had on this show.
So thank you. That's mine.
You eat that up. We can't follow. That's actually the end of the episode. Good night.
No, no, no.
I took an opposite approach because I was like, we can't have 3 for 3 of the exact same graphic. So I did Christian talking to Joe throughout this conversation, and it's just a cat being him.
So good. Now mine is not necessarily a meme, nor was it on the show, but it was something that happened this week. It was a Twitter conversation between Gavin from season 38 and Q.
Oh, yes, yes.
So Gavin says, I was a fan of at Rick Devens, but I cannot support someone who curses because they win a challenge. This is a family show. He then says, that's weak. If it was a big deal, they wouldn't put it in the episode. It's 2026. Families will hear curse words. Get over it. Then Rick Devin says, Q, I appreciate you so much, sir. This is my bestie, Gavin, just goofing on me. You're the best, though. Gavin is okay, too. And Q says, aw, okay, bestie, Gavin. I apologize for not understanding the dynamics of the relationship and responding. And then somebody posted this snippet and said, do we think Q knows Gavin was on Survivor?
We 100% don't think he knows
Exactly.
that Gavin was on Survivor.
Yeah.
And a very close second was Rizzo getting a paper clip or a paper cut and then or a splinter and then leaving. 'Cause that was so me coded.
It really is. It really is. I just love how everyone was low-key making fun of him, being like, do something! Stop! Angelina, stop looking and staring and watching!
It was good. It was really good. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will be back next week with maybe a guest. Who knows?
You're gonna have to tune in to find out. Have a great week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.